Yeah. Yeah, I play with them. So, this is in defense of grown men playing with toys. And I'm going to go out on a limb and just say that I absolutely admit that I actually play with them. And I'm not meaning I pose them. I'm not meaning I do stop motion with them and take them for photography reasons. I'm not collecting them for display. I play with them. I make pew pew sounds with my mouth. I talk in their voices. I have battles. I make explosions, and I'm a grown man, yes. Now, this is a response to, I did get a couple of comments where somebody said, really? Grown men are actually playing with toys now? This is sad. One of the funniest things I got was some absolute fucking jackass in the comments said, oh, you collectors, you complain about everything you didn't like, because I was complaining about the first round of the G.I. Joe classified figures and how they were kind of crap, because they are. And he was like, oh, they're great. You complain because you don't get girls, so because you play with your toys. I'm like, you are commenting on a action figure YouTube channel complaining that I am too critical, which means you also play with toys or buy toys. So what the are you talking about, dude? I want to also talk about just in general the idea that, you know, I hear a lot of people talking about it. They're like, oh, I don't play with them. I'm a collector. I put them in a box. I like the way they look. They're little art pieces. It feels like it's like somebody saying to me, well, I'm not really a furry. I don't have sex in the furry suit. I just like to dress up like a dog every once in a while and go to conventions. You know, you're furry, admit it, okay? So I just like, all right, here's the thing. This also is a response to, I saw this one video, absolute clickbait garbage, which said, exposing Dan Larson. I was like, what did Dan Larson do? He seems like a fine, dude, whatever. And so I click on this video, and it's some asshole running, and the asshole's like, he's Dan Larson plays with toys, he's a grown man.
The truth is, collecting action figures, and this was a question they posed, is for kids. It is shameful for adults to collect action figures.
Dude, shut the fuck off. Okay, here's my response to anybody complaining about the fact that any of us play with toys. I'm going to do a couple things here. One, I want to respond to anybody who has a problem with the fact that a grown man would play with toys. And I also want to say a few reasons why I think it's fine. And respond to a couple of these, people who got a little ahead of themselves here, thinking they're special because they don't. Do I play with toys regularly? Do I have a giant, massive battles? I do. I have children. I have 3 kids. All right. So one, let's address the first asshole's comments where he basically said, even though he clearly is the same man-child, that you don't get girls. Okay. I have been married. I have 3 kids. That means assuming the paternity test comes in, a woman has slept with me at least 3 times. Okay, so there you go. So that dispels that rumor. Checkmate. But I think it's just in general, not even just me, the idea that like these people trying to paint a picture that the general collector is this like basement dweller dude who never, this is all they do, this is all they care about, they've never touched a girl. It just doesn't resonate with reality at all once you know and understand that this is not a small thing anymore. And if you look at a general, I have a small new channel, right? As a toy, I guess I'm a toy tuber, kinda. And there's many of us, and I have a relatively small channel. On my small channel, I can get 100,000 to 300,000 views, but that's even just me. Now you're talking about something like somebody like a Pixel Dan, any number of these toy guys, they just talk about toys, and yet their audience is in the 300, some of these guys have hundreds of thousands of subscribers, 300, 400,000. views on their videos can reach as much as 1 million. So that means there's at least a few 100,000 to millions of us out there that are in the hobby, right? Where we play with these things. We're not all basement dwellers. That's ridiculous. And in fact, like, kind of knowing who we are, I think a lot, that if you watch a lot of the channels, which I check out what other people are doing. There's a lot of channels I like. These are not basement dweller guys. Like, I don't think they, or girls. There's also women who are great in this world. Laura Legend is a great, toy YouTuber. Some of us are married, have kids. Some of us, a lot of guys are from the military. They're not total giant, or, you take Tony from Analog Toys. It was an SA. Remember the SAS? We're not like, I mean, maybe I am, but I'm like, these other guys are not. You're total, just saying, they're not fitting the picture that you want to put forth. It's a silly idea. The idea that because you have a hobby that's a little odd, that's a little childish, that you are a child. We hold down jobs, we have responsibilities, we have kids, we have girlfriends, boyfriends, whatever. It's just a ridiculous, very obviously untrue idea. Secondly, I think in my defense, when I play with toys, when I play with them, I really have my big battles. But I'm telling you, when I have a big battle, I am not lying to you. I am on the floor. I am making the pew pew sounds with my mouth. I am making Destro, punch and kick and talk and blow shit up. Most of the time when I do that is it is a time where I play with my kids. So I have, and it is a bonding experience, parent to kid. I share my love of old vintage toys and the new stuff. I bring the new stuff out for them. They love it. They absolutely excited by it. Sometimes I'm playing Destro and the Baroness at home, making cookies and, with my, daughter. Sometimes I'm having wars. But you know what? That is a completely dishonest and total bullshit line of thread that I just gave you. I'm going to tell you. And this is why I think anybody else who says you don't play with them, but you buy them, if you're a collector, if you're one of these guys, if you're like a hobbyist, that you're in the hobby and you have like rows and rows of these things, and you're going to tell me that you don't at least every once in a while, you're not pulling these off. I hear this a lot of times. People are like, I pose them and I make stop motion movies with them, but I don't actually play with them. Bullshit. There's a point in time where you're sitting around, you're working, your Zoom meeting with some boring ass from your job, and you're just like, off screen, you just pull Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow off the shelf, and you're just like, doing the Zoom meeting. You ever do that? I do it all the time. Anyway, I don't care. Here's the thing. One could say, the argument from somebody like Jackass Running Guy.
Now you collect sports cars. That's what you're supposed to be doing, dude.
I'm going to create beef. I'm creating beef. I like beef. I want a beef. The premise is, it's a ridiculous thing for a grown man to play with toys. Why? Who came up with that? Toys were created for children. Yes. But they're really storytelling tools, right? They're a way of engaging in storytelling and imagination. And I think even if you are a person who doesn't really play with them, other than I think you're lying. If you tell me you never do it, I think you're lying. If you tell me you mostly just pose them, I agree. Okay, you pose them. There's still a lot going on there with the posing, right? Which is very childlike. It's very imaginative. It's very much stimulating your imagination. You're spending your time imagining things in another world, and they're just tools for that imagination. They help you engage in that world, that fantasy world. They're also little pieces of art, so I really think they're quite beautiful nowadays technology, the art of action figure making is quite extraordinary. They can create some really beautiful things. Granted, is there a stunted man-baby thing at the core of this hobby? Maybe. I think that, one of the things is we are all obsessed with nostalgia. This is, in a way, nostalgia porn. I admit to being a peddler in this. And that I know the thing that pushes your buttons is nostalgia. This memory of a time which is simpler, which is this time when you were a kid, when you're just alone or with your friends, and you're playing out this war. And that nostalgia is absolutely the seductive piece. This is why, we insist that G.I. Joe Classified look like the original. We want that nostalgia button pushed. And sure, that is part of it. But I think beyond that, there is just a simple appreciation of the story and the lore. But in general, here's my big problem with anybody who says it's silly for a grown man, to play with toys. Everything is silly, dude. Everything's ridiculous. Everything human beings do in the world is silly. If you don't think, just because it's a little more socially acceptable for a person to play fantasy football, it's silly. You're not that guy. You're not the football player that you are in fantasy football. It's silly to paint your face and go to the football game and scream and at the other team. It's silly to dress in cosplay and go to a comic convention with a lightsaber strapped to your side as well. But you know what? Everything is silly then. What is the point of anything? Can anybody have any fun? We're just trying to get through our day, really, right? We're just trying to get through the day and get through our lives and get through the shit that we got to deal with all of the time. When we indulge in the things that give us pleasure, for whatever reason, who cares? It's arbitrary. The idea that this was created for kids and exists only for kids is an arbitrary decision made by who? No one. If there's fun to be had, there's fun to be had. Same assholes 30 years ago, 40 years ago would have told you that Star Wars was for kids and only a kid can appreciate Star Wars. Now we go to the movie theater and we hang out, we see, we wait in line for Marvel movies. The whole family does. I reject this idea that engaging in fantasy, engaging in role play or play in some way, imagining a hero, engaging in a fantasy world is the stuff of only children. Only if you are dead inside is that the case. And so a lot of us in the hobby are awakening this piece of ourselves that allows us to feel a little less deadened to the world. So that's my take. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Do you admit you play with these things? Do you pose them? Do you think there's anything wrong with somebody playing with toys? Do you think that guy in the jogging video is a jackass? Let me know. So like and subscribe if you want more commentary on action figures, and check out this video where I talk about what it was like growing up in the 80s compared to today.